The kingdom of Judah was in turmoil. The once thriving cities and bustling marketplaces now lay in ruins, a stark reminder of the nation's fall from grace. Years of neglect and idolatry had taken their toll. The people had turned away from their faith, erecting idols and altars to false gods, forsaking the one true God who had led their ancestors out of Egypt. The people had strayed from God, and the consequences were all around them. Their hearts were heavy with despair, and their faces showed the pain of their separation from the divine. There was no peace, no prosperity, and no hope. The streets were empty, the temple courtyards deserted, and famine had struck the land, leaving the people in a state of utter desolation. But God had not forgotten his people. Amidst the darkness, a glimmer of hope began to shine through, like a divine light breaking through the clouds. He sent a prophet named Azariah, son of Oded, to deliver a powerful message to the young king, Asa. Azariah's arrival was timely, as the kingdom desperately needed guidance and reassurance. The Spirit of God came upon Azariah, and he spoke with boldness and authority. His words were not his own, but those of the Almighty, resonating with a power that could not be ignored. Azariah's message was clear: "The Lord is with you when you are with him." His voice carried a promise and a warning, urging the people to remember their covenant with God. He reminded Asa and all of Judah that their fate rested in their own hands. Their future depended on their willingness to return to God and follow his commandments. "Turn back to God," he urged, "and he will bless you." Azariah's plea was heartfelt, a call to repentance and renewal, promising divine favor in return for their faithfulness. "Turn away from him, and you will face the consequences." The warning was stern, a reminder of the suffering that had already befallen them due to their disobedience. Asa's heart was stirred by Azariah's words. The young king felt a deep conviction, realizing the truth in the prophet's message and the need for immediate action. He knew that the prophet spoke the truth. Asa's mind raced with the possibilities of what could be achieved if the nation turned back to God. A renewed sense of hope sparked within him. Asa began to see a vision of a restored Judah, a land blessed with peace and prosperity once more. Could Judah find its way back to the God of their ancestors? The path ahead was clear, but it required faith, courage, and a collective effort to return to the ways of their forefathers. Asa had inherited a kingdom steeped in idolatry. His father, Abijah, and grandfather, Rehoboam, had both allowed pagan practices to flourish. Idols and high places dedicated to false gods polluted the land. The people worshipped fertility goddesses and offered sacrifices to idols of wood and stone. This departure from the one true God had devastating effects on the nation. It eroded their moral compass, weakened their faith, and left them vulnerable to their enemies. The land, once flowing with milk and honey, suffered from drought and famine. Asa looked upon his people and felt a heavy weight on his shoulders. They were lost and hurting, desperately in need of a shepherd to guide them back to the true source of life and blessing. Inspired by Azariah's message, Asa knew he had to act. He resolved to lead his people back to God. He would cleanse the land of idolatry and restore the worship of the one true God. This was no small feat. It required immense courage to challenge deeply ingrained practices and beliefs. Asa began by removing the idols his father had made. He cut down the sacred poles, smashed the idols into pieces, and burned the high places to the ground. It was a dramatic and visible sign of his commitment to God. He didn't stop there. Asa understood that true worship extended beyond the removal of idols. He turned his attention to the temple in Jerusalem, the physical representation of God's presence among his people. With great care and reverence, Asa directed the repair of the temple. He strengthened its foundations, restored its beauty, and ensured that it was a fitting place for the worship of God. The temple, which had long been neglected, now stood as a symbol of renewed faith and dedication. Craftsmen worked tirelessly, carving intricate designs and restoring the sacred artifacts. The air was filled with the sounds of hammers and chisels, a testament to the collective effort of the people. The interior of the temple was adorned with gold and precious stones, reflecting the glory of the divine. Every corner of the temple was meticulously cleaned and purified, making it a worthy dwelling place for the presence of God. Then he called for a grand assembly in Jerusalem. The news of the assembly spread quickly, and soon people from all over Judah and even the northern kingdom of Israel flocked to the city. The streets of Jerusalem were filled with pilgrims, all eager to participate in this momentous occasion. Families travelled together carrying offerings and gifts, their hearts filled with anticipation and hope. The city gates saw an unprecedented influx of people, all united by a common purpose. Standing before the throngs of people, Asa delivered a powerful message. His voice echoed through the assembly, reaching every ear and touching every heart. He spoke with conviction and passion, reminding them of their shared history and divine heritage. He reminded them of God's covenant with their ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He spoke of the promises made and the faithfulness of God throughout the generations. The stories of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were recounted, each one a testament to the enduring covenant between God and his people. He recounted the exodus from Egypt, the miraculous escape from bondage, and the journey through the wilderness. The giving of the law at Mount Sinai was highlighted, emphasizing the importance of obedience and faithfulness to God's commandments. He spoke of the many times God had delivered them from their enemies, recounting the victories and the divine interventions that had preserved their nation. Then he challenged them to make a covenant with God, to renew their commitment and to live according to his will. The call to action was clear and compelling. He urged them to turn away from their idols, to cast aside the false gods that had led them astray, and to return to the one true God. The people responded with fervor, pledging to serve him with all their hearts and souls. The atmosphere was charged with a renewed sense of purpose and devotion, as the nation of Israel recommitted itself to the covenant with God. Section 5. The joy of obedience. The response was overwhelming. The people of ancient Israel had gathered in great numbers, their hearts stirred by the words of Asa, their leader. His call to return to the ways of their ancestors resonated deeply within them. The people, moved by Asa's sincerity and the truth of his words, raised their voices in unison, pledging their allegiance to God. It was a powerful moment, a collective decision to embrace a life of obedience and faithfulness. They entered into the covenant with joyful abandon, knowing they were choosing the path of life and blessing. This covenant was not just a formality. It was a heartfelt commitment to live according to God's commandments and to seek his favor in all their endeavors. A wave of celebration swept over the assembly. The joy was palpable as men, women, and children alike rejoiced in their renewed relationship with God. It was a time of great festivity and communal harmony. They brought their most prized possessions, sheep, goats, and other valuable animals, as offerings to God. These sacrifices were a testament to their devotion and willingness to give up their best for the sake of their faith. Cattle were also offered as sacrifices to God. The sight of these offerings symbolized the people's earnest desire to atone for their past transgressions and to start anew with a clean slate. The air filled with the aroma of burnt offerings, a sweet fragrance pleasing to the Lord. This act of worship was a profound expression of their reverence and love for God. The people danced and sang, their hearts overflowing with gratitude and joy. Music and laughter filled the air as they celebrated their renewed covenant with God. They had found their way back to the God of their ancestors, the one true God who offered them forgiveness, hope, and an unbreakable covenant of love. This was a moment of spiritual awakening, a return to the divine embrace that had always been waiting for them. Asa's commitment to God was unwavering, even when it meant confronting opposition within his own family. His grandmother Maacah held a position of influence and power. She was deeply devoted to idol worship, even having an Asherah pole, a symbol of a Canaanite goddess, made in her honor. Asa didn't hesitate. He stripped Maacah of her position and had the Asherah pole cut down, ground into powder, and burned in the Kidron Valley. He refused to allow idolatry to take root, even in the highest echelons of his own family. This act demonstrated the depth of Asa's faith and his unwavering commitment to God's law. He understood that true worship demanded complete allegiance without compromise. Asa's reforms ushered in an era of unprecedented peace and prosperity in Judah. The land, once parched and barren, flourished under God's blessing. Fields teemed with abundant harvests, vineyards overflowed with grapes, the threat of invasion receded, and the people enjoyed a time of tranquility and security. For the first time in generations, the people of Judah experienced the fullness of God's blessing. They lived in safety and abundance, no longer burdened by the weight of their sin or the fear of their enemies. This time of peace wasn't simply the absence of war, it was the presence of God's shalom, a deep and abiding sense of wholeness, harmony, and well-being that permeated every aspect of their lives. Asa's reign stands as a testament to the transformative power of true faith. He left an indelible mark on Judah, not only through his political and religious reforms, but also through the example he set for generations to come. He showed his people that true leadership flowed from a heart fully surrendered to God. He demonstrated that genuine repentance leads to radical obedience, and that the path of obedience, though often challenging, is always the path of blessing. His story serves as a beacon of hope, reminding us that even in the darkest of times, God can bring about extraordinary renewal and restoration. Centuries later, Asa's story continues to resonate with believers today. His life offers timeless lessons about the importance of seeking God with all our hearts, turning away from idols, and committing to a life of obedience. Like Asa, we are called to be reformers in our own time, to stand against the tide of compromise and to be a beacon of light in a world often shrouded in darkness. And like Asa, we can be confident that when we seek God with all our hearts, we will find him, and he will bless us abundantly.